Happy Thursday. As always on Thursdays, got a gospel preview for you. This is our gospel reading for the upcoming weekend from John 2, verses 19 through 21. Here we go. Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." The Jews then said, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and will you raise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking about the temple of his body. Couple context things. One is this happens right after Jesus arrives in the temple. Doesn't like what he sees going on, money changing, animals being sold, probably cheating, and he makes a cord of whips and scatters people from the temple. He overturns the tables, the money goes flying all over the place. Also interesting, then he makes this passion prediction or prediction about his upcoming death that his hearers misunderstand. Kind of interesting to me generally that oftentimes we see in the Gospels that people misunderstand Jesus. Here, it's people who are opposed to him, but that's even true of his disciples. They often mishear him and then rethink what they've heard after they see the entirety of it unfold. So after Jesus dies, after Jesus is raised, then his disciples start rethinking stuff that they had seen and heard. I also think this reading is interesting because this is one of the things that gets brought back up when Jesus is on trial, when they're trying to find things to crucify him for. And someone's like, well, he did say that he would destroy the temple. And that's one of the ones that sticks. He said he would destroy the temple. Of course, just like John told us in those verses, he wasn't talking about the bricks and mortar. He was talking about his body. I think it is important to realize what the temple was for God's people. First and foremost, the temple is the visible presence of God on earth. That was true even of the tabernacle before the temple was built. Where the tabernacle was, that's where God's special presence was. In fact, you remember during the wilderness wandering days, that's how they knew where to put the tabernacle, because the presence of God would stop. Either a pillar of smoke or a pillar of fire. When that thing stopped, they knew where to make camp. Where that thing was, that's where the tabernacle went up. Then, generations later, when they dedicate the temple, fire and smoke fills that thing, and they know, yeah, God is here. God is here among us. The temple was enormously important to them. When the people of God are in exile, they can't wait to get back to the temple. They know the temple is in ruins. They can't wait to get back. The prophets have to remind them, hey, we know that's the special place where we know God is, but guess what? God travels. He's always with his people. But it was hard for them to imagine because they had this gigantic place that was the center of their religious life. But here's the thing. With the arrival of Jesus on earth, the need for the building is not the same as it once was. Jesus is the visible presence of God on earth now. The temple is just a building. It's also true that Jesus here and throughout his ministry, one of the things he's doing is he's bringing an end to the sacrificial system. Pretty soon in our church here, Jesus is going to be crucified. And when Jesus is crucified, one of the things that we know is that the temple curtain rips in two, judgment on the temple. The sacrificial system is over. Not because God didn't like it, but because God has completed it in Jesus. He is the once for all sacrifice. We have an altar in our church, but we don't make sacrifices there. And the reason is because Jesus is the once for all sacrifice. No more guilt offerings, no more sin offerings, none of that stuff. Jesus, the 5 wounds that he bears are enough to pay that price forever. Let's close. Dear Lord, thank you for your constant presence among us. Help us to believe even though we do not see. Help us also to long for that day that we know you no longer by faith, but by sight. Amen. As always, good to be with you. Thanks for stopping in on our Gospel Preview Thursday. See you next time.